It's the Free Relief Golf Podcast. Thanks to the Blue Wire Hustle program, this is the place where listeners can explore the hidden cost of elite amateur golf. It'll always cost nothing to get some free relief, so let's get on with it, shall we? Hello and welcome back to the Free Relief Golf Podcast. I'm Freddie, and as always I hope you're safe and well. This episode is the fourth of the 2022 season, and this time round, we will again be utilising that chat format because I once again didn't make it into the field for another prestigious amateur event, the St Andrews Links Trophy. Now, regular listeners will be aware that I did in fact play in this event last year. If you'd like to hear about my experience of that event, then you can go and check out that episode in the Free Relief Golf Podcast archives. However, this year, I did enter the tournament, but with a full field unaffected by COVID travel restrictions, I was politely informed by the St Andrews Links that I didn't even make the reserve list. However, I was asked to caddy in the tournament by my friend Arron, and in this episode we get to chat with Arron as he helps illustrate everything we need to know about the St Andrews Links Trophy and whether or not it is worth playing for the money. There's plenty to cover, so let's get straight into it with just a few facts. The St Andrews Links Trophy is a 72-hole stroke play event which acts as one of the major championships of global amateur golf. The tournament is open to male amateur golfers with a handicap of scratch or less, but the actual cut-off for entries in 2022 was based entirely off World Amateur Golf ranking, due to the strength and depth of the entrants involved. A ranking within the top 500 would guarantee you a start, and some guys placed around 2000th found themselves on the reserve list. There's a starting field of 144 players and a cut after 36 holes, which incorporates the top 40 players and ties. The tournament comes with a suspiciously reasonable entry fee. So what do you get for this? Well, we're going to find out by asking about our usual areas of concern: golf, food and merchandise. However, before we throw ourselves into the nitty-gritty of all things Links Trophy, please indulge me once again in a quick mention of the Free Relief Golf Podcast Patreon platform. As you may already know, through this podcast I'm trying to create a bank of episodes whereby fellow golfers can look up a specific tournament and find out exactly how much it will cost them to play in it. Hopefully this will help people to successfully and efficiently plan their golfing schedules. To achieve this, I'm playing in as many tournaments as I am able to, but guess what? It costs serious money. So the Free Relief Golf Podcast Patreon platform is now officially up and running, and anyone looking to support the podcast can do so by signing up to one of the 3 tiers available and pledging a monetary amount that suits them. Signing up to any tier gets you a shout out on the podcast as a thank you for your belief in the project. And this week we again give a shout out to my first patron, Zach Bedford. Zach is still sticking with the Eagle tier, so it must be pretty good. With all that being said, here's my chat with Arron Edwards-Hill. Arron Edwards-Hill, welcome to the Free Relief Golf Podcast. It's great to have you on. How are you today?
Good, Freddie. Thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, literally not a problem. We've just had a good week together at the St Andrews Links Trophy. But before we start, for those people who unbelievably may not know you, we should probably outline who you are for the listeners so they know why they should be listening to you today. Who are you? What do you do? What are your golfing credentials?
So, obviously, start with my name. My name's Arron Edwards-Hill. I play golf full time now since I was 18. Play for the England men's squad. I've won various tournaments kind of around Europe and around the UK. And I'm looking to become a professional golfer in the next few years.
Perfect. And for context, how do we know each other?
We know each other kind of from growing up, I guess. Like, I remember, the first time we sort of played together was in the Essex County Championship. Was it Colchester, wasn't it, I think?
It was Colchester, yeah.
So we played there, I remember that. Different back then. I was about 12 years old or something. So.
Yeah, I swear you've always been 12 years old. I think there were two things that stood out for me that day. I think my dad was caddying and he definitely recounted the stories recently where there was the hole out eagle 2 on the 18th at Colchester. If anyone's ever been there, it's a big dogleg right par 4. I remember seeing the ball go in the hole and you did not believe me that it fell in the hole.
And
I
remember that.
That was mental. I don't even know what club you hit in there. It must have been like a 4-iron or something.
I think it was a hybrid. I think so. I was hitting. I remember it. It was absolutely like hammering it down with rain, wasn't it, on the 18th? And I was like down the left side of the fairway, and I remember hitting this like little hybrid thing, and I thought it went over the green. And then you was standing there saying it's in the hole, and I was like, I don't believe it. No way, I did not believe it. And obviously it was in the hole. Nice little 2.
Love that. Love that.
I remember topping it off the tee as well.
Oh, well, that was going to be the next thing. That par 3, what was it, like 8 or something? Yeah. It was barely topping it, wasn't it? I remember. So what happened? I think you teed it up and the ball was just moving slightly, and you tried to save it on the downswing, and you just kind of clipped it 30 yards in front of you. Just a beautiful little pitch shot. Just trying to save it, trying to decel out of it. That was hilarious. I remember that. I don't think you found it as funny at the time, but it was funny to see, to be fair.
Yeah, looking back on it, that was hilarious. A little layup on a par 3. Lovely stuff.
But who would have thought it? You've gone from that humbling moment to where you are right now. You're currently 251st in the world amateur golf ranking for the benefit of the listeners, and that is only set to rise after your performance in the Links Trophy this week, where, as I said, we got to team up as a player-caddy combo, and you came... Well, where did you come? Tell the listeners.
Well, I finished tied 3rd in the end. It was obviously a good week. It was good to have a professional caddy, yourself, on the bag. And
that's very generous.
To know the course inside out as well. It's a big help, really. And I think it's just a great week, all in all.
And where did that tied 3rd place, where did that align with your expectations? What were your hopes going into the week?
Yeah, I mean, I was playing well. I finished 2nd in the Brabazon Trophy just sort of 2 weeks before, so I knew that my game was kind of in good shape, and I knew that I was putting pretty well, so I just kind of, it wasn't like expecting to go out and breeze the tournament easily, but I just tried to take sort of one shot at a time, and I think we did a good job of that, and then just let the score happen. And obviously it was nice to shoot 4 rounds in the 60s, the only player in the field to do that, so it was obviously, for myself, it was a very consistent week, and it was nice to have a great finish there.
Yeah, no, it was definitely exciting being up there and in contention. But this podcast is not just about golfing performance. This is all about the cost behind it. And I know that St Andrews is not the cheapest place to play golf in general. So we'll get into those costs, and we'll have a bit of golf along the way as well. But let's start with the headline question. We've got to ask this. The St Andrews Links Trophy, on the face of it, £60 entry fee, right? Is it worth playing?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you get, even if you don't have a good week, you get a practice round on the old course for one anyway. And just to obviously play sort of that course, and from what's happened in the past, like obviously having the Open there since however long ago, you know what I mean? Like years ago. So I think walking in the sort of paths of legends, you don't really get that. I mean, it's about 300 quid or something to probably play there, isn't it? If you just wanted to. So,
we'll cover that.
So if you can get into the event, it's well worth entering it. Get two rounds, you get guaranteed 4 rounds. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. And the St Andrews Links themselves, like the club, they run the event fantastically. I mean, good amount of prizes, which is always good to see in the amateur game. You don't get that too much.
We will talk prizes as well, because there's a story behind that, isn't there? So listeners will have to stay tuned in to hear what actually happened with that. But I mean, that says a lot, though, because you've played events all over the world. Like you say, you've won around Europe. And the Links Trophy truly is a major championship of amateur golf, right? Mm-hmm. And it seems like it is from my perspective, having not played around the world, it does seem like it's organised in that sense. But would you agree with that, having seen the global circuit?
Definitely. I mean, it's a big event when you've got guys coming over from South Africa, Australia, guys from Asia coming over to play. And then obviously you have your main lads coming over from like the UK, Ireland, like stuff like that. So, and the way they sort of run it is very professional, just with all the sort of referees out, and they know it's a major championship for the amateurs, really. That's the way I think all the guys look at it, and that's the way I'd look at it, especially the Walker Cup being there in 2023. So
yeah.
I think
that's massive.
Obviously, yeah. Like a lot of the selectors and a lot of the sort of people who are wanting to watch for that are going to be there, sort of seeing how you play. So it's definitely a major.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the Free Relief Golf Podcast. We're going to cover three main areas of three classic areas that we'd like to pay attention to in terms of the cost. It's going to be the golf, the merchandise, and the food. And I would say the Links Trophy has all of those in abundance. Let's get straight into it with the golf. Thanks for that summary of how you feel about the tournament to start with. You alluded to already, you get a guaranteed practice round on the Old. You get 2 practice rounds free of charge, one on the Jubilee, one on the Old Course, and 2 guaranteed tournament rounds, which this year were both on the Jubilee. Normally you'd get one of the Jubilee and one on the Jubilee and the Old, or you'd get one on the New and the Old. That seems to be how they've done it in recent years. But this year, 2 on the Jubilee, I guess they're just resting the Old Course as much as they can before the Open. And then for those people who don't know, after the 2 rounds this year on the Jubilee, it was then the cut was top 40 in tyres out of 144 player field. So that's quite a tight cut to make for a starters. And you alluded to it, that the green fees are not small at the St Andrews Links. I think for the Jubilee now, it's gone up to £120 in high season, and the Old Course has risen to £270 this year, which is up from £190 last year. So within a week, you're getting £900 worth of golf if you go through and make the cut. So that's kind of sick. We'll start with the practice round offering and how you went about it. I know over the last 2 years, you've gone for a different strategy with practice rounds. They have a set practice round day on Wednesday on the Jubilee, Thursday on the Old Course.
Yeah.
How did you work the practice rounds, and would you like to explain the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, so really this year, I mean, we was up in Scotland for the Scottish Amateur, and we sort of came down up from Cruden Bay. And we decided it's usually a practice day on, I think it's Wednesday and then Thursday. I think Wednesday on Jubilee, and then you'd play Thursday on the Old practice day. And sometimes it's always just everyone's trying to book in as quick as possible, and you don't get the right times and stuff like that. And obviously, thanks to your help, you got us out on the Jubilee on the Tuesday. So that kind of gave us a rest day on the Wednesday, and then we could just play the Old on the Thursday. And I think, just because there's obviously, I think for me, when there's 2 courses to play, and you're playing 2 courses, it's a lot of golf to sort of play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then play 36 on Sunday. So I think you've got to almost try and pace yourself, and that's the reason why we decided to play a day early.
Yeah, and then that makes sense. So what does the rest do for you? Do you find any significant difference when you're actually in the tournament on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
For sure. I mean, like for me on the Wednesday, the rest day, I'd just be practicing like I normally would and just work on my game a little bit, like what the course kind of demands. Instead of just going around playing, you can sort of work on a little bit of technique and just get the pace of the greens and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I think that's just more important. It's good to have a great game plan. I mean, luckily enough, I played the event in last year in 2021, so it's always good to go back there. And obviously, I know the course a bit more now, so I don't need to keep playing round and do 2 practice rounds and wear myself out. I think it's big on the last sort of 36 hole day is what you're looking at, because you kind of want your last round to be your best round. And obviously, when you're playing that much golf, even when we was going round on that last 9 holes, I even said to you, I was kind of like, geez, I'm feeling a bit tired now. I need to somehow like get some energy back or something. And I think that sort of rest on Wednesday might have done me well for the back 9, and I had a decent finish the last few holes.
There you go.
I found in recent years that I've had a bad finish, and that's just probably over golfing and over practicing. So
yeah, that's interesting actually. I mean, it's definitely true that I was just caddying for the week and pushing the power caddy, but it was tiring. It was draining as well. You know, we're getting into the numbers and figuring out every shot, and for me, without even having to move my body and hit the shots, it was a tiring week being in contention for most of it. You know, it's just especially with some of the wind as well, so that makes complete sense, having the extra day off just to help you stay fresh. In terms of the golf courses themselves, you know, I know the location itself is historic and iconic and, you know, everything we've already said, but how are the conditions of the courses? Were there any differences between the Jubilee and the Old this year that you found?
Yeah, so the Jubilee was definitely a lot firmer, a lot faster than the Old Course. Obviously, I think they're taking probably a bit more care of the Old Course, obviously, because the Open's there this year. Yeah. So they don't want to like burn it out a bit too much. But the Jubilee was fairly like very fast running, and the greens were really fast. So it was kind of tricky to get the golf, like sort of get the speed of the greens on the Old Course the last 2 rounds. Yeah, so there was a big difference, 100%. I think it's just you have to just try and adapt as quick as possible. Yeah.
In terms of layout, you got any favourite holes on the Jubilee or the Old Course? Just, I guess there's some obvious candidates.
Yeah, I mean, they're funky courses because they're not bang driver everywhere sort of thing. I mean, the Old Course is a little bit more. You can hit a lot more drivers. But the Jubilee, you have to be very smart off the tee and just plot your way around and just hit middle of the greens and stuff. Don't do anything fancy around there. Then the Old's obviously a bit funky off the tee. It's great to have the kind of TV towers up to get lines off the tees. I think that certainly helps a lot.
That was helpful
because you can't see you can't see any of the tee shots, like if you have no grandstands up or anything. But I'd say my favourite hole, definitely on the Old Course, is I like the 17th. It's obviously I like it because of the looks of the hotel and everything, but it's one of the toughest holes on the grounds of St Andrews. You know what I mean? It's such a demanding tee shot, especially when you're kind of playing well. And up there in contention, you've got to really commit to your line, and you just have to hit a good golf shot, or you're just making a bogey, you know.
Yeah, I've got to give a shout out here to your pitch shot in that final round on the Old Course. People may be able to find it on the St Andrews Links or the Home of Golf when they do their highlights videos of the Links Trophy for 2022, but do you want to just describe your pitch shot briefly to those who may not have seen it or heard about it? Because I thought it was pretty exceptional. To you, I thought it was like another standard shot, but would you like to describe that?
Yeah, so we obviously hit it in the left rough off the tee and then just tried to play it to the front of the green, dragged it a bit, kind of straight behind the road hole bunker. Obviously, the pin was right at the back. But luckily enough, I was hitting off a little upslope. So it wasn't too bad. It was just off a little upslope. The lie was nice. The pin was sort of at the back. So, I mean, all I had to do was just, as long as I get it over the bunker, it's going to go close to the hole. You know what I mean? Just the way it kind of set up. And I know the green's kind of slowish, just kind of going back up that hill. And just used a little bit 56, which just gives me a little bit extra bounce under the ball. Obviously, when you're feeling a little bit tight or whatever, give yourself that little bit of extra bounce under the ball. Like my 60's got 6 degrees of bounce, and I think my 56's got 10 degrees. So
so that's your go-to.
Yeah, especially off them tighter lies, like under like a tiny bit of pressure, you're better off using a bit more leeway, if you know what I mean. So just flipped it up, run it down the slope, a little bit of check, and tapped it in for a 4. So it's nice to make a 4 there when you feel like you're in contention.
Yeah, especially I think at that point maybe we were four off the lead. Lots of people about. I thought under the circumstances that was an excellent shot. Just a shame not to birdie 18 and post the number. That would have been sick.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Yeah, for sure.
But we birdied it in the morning, so I guess beggars can't be choosers.
Exactly.
Right, okay, so getting on to practice area. So slightly different this year given the open setup. You guys were out on the Balgove course for the driving range, and I guess you had access to the academy as well for short game. Did you make good use of that? Were you satisfied with the practice area?
Yeah, funny story actually. So the practice area is fantastic up there, the standard chip and green and with all the bunkers and stuff, and the range was just set up perfect. Grass was just perfect, really. You could almost putt off the fairways we were hitting off on that range, so it was nice to kind of replicate the golf course.
Love that.
Which is good. And yeah, funny story. So every sort of round before I teed off, I'd go to the range and then finish off, go to the chip and green, hit loads of bunker shots. And sort of realised the other day when we finished, I was like, I haven't even hit it in one bunker this week. So all of that sort of bunker practice was pointless. But maybe if I didn't do any bunker practice, I would have hit it in a few bunkers. But I think it's pretty cool to play 72 holes, especially around the Old Course and the Jubilee, and to not hit it in one bunker is pretty special, really.
Yeah, that is pretty sick. That must just be karma, right? Karma of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, we had a few close encounters, but it just wasn't going in. Yeah, it showed that we had a really good game plan, really, and it obviously worked. So
yeah, for sure. That is funny. To be fair, I hadn't even thought of that. That's impressive. And I guess a part of being able to avoid all the bunkers would be the yardage books. What was the situation with yardage books this week? Did you end up getting an official one from the links? Because I know earlier in the week we were concerned that we only had basic books.
Yeah, no, so we could have had ones from the links, but I just ended up using the kind of basic ones that you get. I don't know, I feel like the links ones are just a little bit, I don't know, there's a bit too much going on them. Like, you can't really see the holes as much, whereas the standard ones, they're a lot more basic, but you can just for me, like, it's just a lot more simple, and you can see the layout of the hole a lot better. So I just decided to sort of use that, and we obviously got most of the numbers from the practice days and added on however much it needed to be added on, and took off whatever it needed to be took off, and got all the yardages to the bunkers and stuff like that. So it wasn't too much of a difference, really.
That's quite interesting, because I've had people I've spoken to already this year who have slated yardage books for not being detailed enough. But it's interesting that you kind of wanted the space just to see the hole, rather than you didn't just want numbers everywhere and all the sprinklers, and that's just how you see it. Yeah,
well, that's for me. Like, obviously, people have different opinions and stuff, but I think for me, just keep it as simple as possible, and I'd rather see the hole there instead of just like numbers and, I don't know, lines and everything just all over the place, you know what I mean?
Make it right.
You can add your own. The thing is, you can't, once you get a book with loads of detail on it, you can't take anything off. Whereas if you get a simple book, you can add it all on yourself, so you can just customise it more.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And moving on to merchandise, I think the St Andrews Links is quite strong for merchandise based on my experience last year, but what did they give you? I guess there's a bag tag involved. Will you be displaying it? Will it just go back on the shelf at home? What did they give you? What was available on the first tees? Were you satisfied with it?
Yeah, so we got I've actually got it right here. We got like a little bag, a little St Andrews Links trophy bag. It's nice. Like kind of a pouch thing.
Yeah.
That had tees in it, ball marker. Always need a ball marker because I always forget mine, so that's handy to get that on the first tee. You'd have no excuses then to start putting the tee in the ground.
Yeah, so that's where they've thought of everything.
And then pitch mark repairer, just all the little stuff, but it's nice to get that. It's a nice little keepsake, I suppose, that you can just put up in your room, which is nice. And yeah, obviously we've got a nice little bag tag. I'll be using that for the rest of the year until next year. So
there you go, showing off. This kind of, it counts as a prize, but it kind of covers merchandise as well. That when you make the cut, you get a £70 gift voucher to use in any of the link shops. Any thoughts on that? Because I understand that for some people, that Jake, who you played with on the Sunday, he went and used his at lunchtime. We only had a half-hour turnaround to go find something. I don't think you had that opportunity. So any comments on that £70 gift voucher, as nice as it is to receive?
Yeah, it's great, really. Obviously, it gives you an incentive, like, if you're not, like, leading the tournament or whatever throughout the first round, you can just go out and try and make the cut. You know what I mean? I think it's a great little like prize that you get on the first tee when you're playing the Old. You just starts your day off nicely, doesn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously for me, I didn't get a chance to use it, so I guess I'll use it next year when I go back.
There you go. Yeah, let's hope it doesn't run out. You've got to make
I remember in 2021, I got a nice head cover with the Old Course on it, white head cover. So it's nice to get little. You can get little smaller things.
Little souvenirs,
which is always nice. That it's the home of golf. So
very nice. And also on the first tees, along with pitch mark repairers and tees, there were bananas. I don't know if you made use of them, but I had a friend ask in our Eden tournament episode last year. He doesn't like bananas. Just a rogue question for you. If you couldn't have bananas on the first tee, is there anything else that you'd prefer having? He said apples, but I don't know what else you could want on the first tee, really.
Probably apples, yeah.
Because bananas just seem to be such a staple of first tee.
What would be interesting is you get like a proper like basket of like fruit or something, and then like a little bag, and then you could have they have like strawberries out, bananas, apples, oranges, and just like have everything out, and then everyone's happy, aren't they?
Then everyone's happy. I mean, you'd definitely be happy. You are the first person I've ever seen on a golf course to eat strawberries whilst going round. I thought it'd be a scientific reason, looking at maybe slow release, fast release energy, something like that. But what was your actual reason for eating strawberries?
Well, I just like them, so they just taste nice. I don't know what else to say. Well,
incredible.
It is fruit, isn't it? So it's obviously good for you. But yeah, I just like them, yeah.
There you go, you heard it here first. The fruit baskets on the first tee, sort it out, St Andrews Links. Right, let's get on to some more mundane stuff, or it might be mundane, we'll find out. The travel and accommodation. So you travelled in a car. Do you drive to all these tournaments? Did you ever consider getting the plane up to Scotland or get a train, or is the car just way too convenient to ever consider those alternatives? Yeah,
well, I mean, at the minute, obviously, with cars being so expensive to hire in the UK as well, and I don't know what's up with that at the minute, but it's just more convenient to drive, I suppose. And for me, like, I've 3 weeks away from home, I can't really just go around flying, trying to get taxis or lifts or hire cars. It'd just be way too it'd be just way too expensive.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot easier going around driving.
Yeah, makes total sense, and especially once you're in the town as well. I guess St Andrews you can walk around, but I don't know what Cruden Bay was like, but it sounded like you didn't want to walk anywhere in those conditions. It sounded like the weather was too horrific for that.
Yeah, so. You can't walk around up there. It's too far up north.
They're too far up north. Sounds grim. And you guys stayed in an Airbnb. I say you guys because you shared with 2 other people. You don't necessarily have to call them out if you don't want to, but perhaps before we cover the Airbnb this year, we should first address your situation with the Airbnb last year. There's a little story to go with that. Am I right?
Oh yeah. So anyway, this year I stayed with Hugh Foley and Matthew Wilson, and so going back to last year, so we have like designated bookers, I suppose, for the certain events, and he had St Andrews last year and St Andrews this year. So he booked a nice little kind of house on Airbnb, sort of only 5 minutes away from St Andrews, just at the top of the hill, past like the caravan park.
Yeah, okay.
And so one night he just went upstairs. We were just sitting downstairs doing what we do, just watching TV or whatever, messing around. And he goes upstairs, 2 other lads in the house. He goes upstairs to his room and he opens a door. And obviously he left his window open. Don't know why. Silly idea. And there's a bat flying around in his room and he runs downstairs. He's like, lads, there's a bat. It was hilarious, to be fair. And we didn't know what to do. We sent one of the lads in with a towel to try and catch it and throw it out. But
with a towel?
They're aggressive, them things. They attack it. We ended up getting the mattresses out and just hoping it flew out the window itself. And then we ended up sleeping downstairs, yeah. But all in all, we ended up getting half the money back, so it was kind of worth it.
So it's almost worth, maybe you should bring your own bat in the future and just get half price at all the accommodation. That sounds well all right.
Yeah, be able to keep ways to do it.
That's mental. And how did it go this year? Was it slightly more relaxed?
Yeah, this year was good. So Hugh booked it again. He always gives out for booking St Andrews because it's almost the hardest place to book, to try and find like the cheapest and like the best accommodation.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting a nice little apartment in St Andrews. Literally, you could walk to the first tee. It'd take 5 minutes on the old.
Yeah.
And it was only £200 each for, I don't know, 5 nighs, something like that.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. So it was really good for value money, but it was a little bit small. But I mean, to be honest, like the location, it's well worth it because I know the majority of the players were staying in Dundee, so I think having that kind of comfort next to the golf course certainly helps when you're playing a tournament. You know that the first tee is literally around the corner, so it's always nice to have that in the back of your head instead of thinking, I've got to get up and drive 30 minutes before I play. So
yeah, exactly. Do you think that's, I mean, the time of year is summer in St Andrews. The tournament, would it have to stay that time of year? Or if it was in October and it helped you guys with accommodation, would that still be a good event? Do you think you kind of got to sacrifice the accommodation just to have the courses as good as they are right now? Is that worth the sacrifice?
Yeah, I mean, I think the time of the year that they do it's perfect, really. Obviously, it's tough with accommodation and stuff, but if you're on it, like you can book now for next year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just get on it.
You're gonna find somewhere. Obviously, I think it ties in well with the amateur schedule. Obviously, heading up to Lytham on Friday for the amateur championship. So
yeah,
I think it just ties in well, and there's no need for them to move it. And obviously, the weather's always seems to be good, which is also a bonus. So. You know what the weather can be like up there.
Exactly. So fair enough. They can all stay in Dundee, and it's still worth it, probably. Yeah. I mean, it's only 30 minutes in Dundee, I suppose. So it's not the end of the world. Love it. So a quick note on prizes. You did win a prize this week. Not just making the cut with £70, but as we said earlier, you came tied third, which is a great result. There was a prize-giving mishap of sorts where you were not told that you had to be at the prize giving. I don't know if you want to call anyone out with that, but have you heard what your prize is yet?
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you know what the prize is?
I have no idea what it is, but I went into the recorders and was like, because obviously it's a long drive home for myself, so I just kind of wanted to get away, and I had to kind of go if there wasn't any prizes to be given out. Like, so I asked one of the recorders and was like, "Oh, is there any prizes for kind of third or fourth or like tied third?" And he was like, I'm not sure who it was, but
it's probably for the best.
He said, "No, there's prizes for like best rounds on the Jubilee or something, and then like the Lynx Trophy winner." And I was like, "Oh, so okay, fair enough. Am I right to just go home then?" And he said, yeah, no problem. So I obviously sort of like asked the wrong person, or I don't know, but they ended up sending an email out, and I ended up winning a prize, which is nice. And obviously, because of the RNA rules changed this year, you can win cash as an amateur. So he's they're sending out checks, which is nice. It's good.
Oh, really? That's incredible. I haven't heard any tournament do that yet. Because if listeners are not aware, I made an episode on the changes in the rules of amateur status, and I was waiting this year to see when the vouchers would become cash prizes. But that's interesting, they've given you the option. Did they give you an option of taking it as a voucher, or did they just send out checks?
No, so they just sent out checks, which is
wow.
Everyone will be happy with, to be honest. And I know the Brabazon Trophy, they didn't like send a check out, but they sort of sent it in an email, and then you just obviously do all the work with the bank details and all that sort of stuff. But
fair.
But yeah, it's good. It's really good for the amateur game, I think, because it gives the guys playing obviously an extra bit of incentive to want to do well, and you can sort of half fund your own season, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. The cash is useful. There's only so many golfing items that you can buy.
Yeah, usually you just end up buying them and selling them, so sell them on eBay from Pro Vs.
Fair.
Or someone always wants Pro Vs, don't they? So
always. I mean, I always want Pro Vs, to be fair. You can sell them to me. But do you know what that prize is? How much that prize is? Because I couldn't actually find it online.
I'm not sure. I think it's around 500 quid or 400 quid, something like that.
Wow, so that's a decent chunk.
Yeah, it's good.
That really helps. Wow, that covers your Airbnb.
10% Freddie in the post.
I'll take 5%. I'll take 10% of a win, but yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I need it. And listeners will be hearing about my Patreon as well before and after this. So yeah, that would definitely help towards that. So just some final comments then. Normally on these episodes when I play a tournament, I do an overall experience rating. We cover all these different areas. We've basically covered all of these areas today, but you've alluded to it as well. Hospitality. Were you pleased with the welcome at the Links Trophy? Everyone friendly enough for you?
Yeah, they're always friendly. I think it's Greg, isn't it, that runs it?
Greg Dockhart.
Yeah, he's really friendly all the time and kind of always remembers your name and stuff, and he's always welcoming and just wants you to kind of have a good time and enjoy the experience. So yeah, they're all very nice, yeah, which is good.
Is that unusual for these tournaments? You ever had like a frosty welcome at any of these tournaments?
Yeah, I don't want to mention the golf.
No, that's fine. But,
at times there's been certain events that we've even in practice rounds, you've got members coming over telling you, you're only allowed to use one ball, stuff like this, and you can't really prepare properly when it's like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny. I think just by saying one ball practice, listeners will know exactly which event you're talking about. But that's there you go. But that's okay. And in terms of the organisation, communication with emails and stuff, was that all okay as well? I saw the Scottish Golf app seemed to work a lot better this year, to be fair to it.
Yeah, it was great, yeah. They got the Scottish app involved as well with obviously the Scottish Golf, which run it with the live scoring and stuff, and it's good to have the live scoring. I do like it, but like personally for me, I'd rather just do it on a card and like do it the kind of old way, I guess. But it is good. It is good, obviously, for people at home that are wanting to watch the kind of half watch the last rounds and stuff. The live scoring is great, so I think definitely keep up with the live scoring. It's really good. Yeah,
even if you just give it to the caddy to do.
Yeah. You could do that. Yeah, that's what I did. So I think that's the best way. I think you can't beat the old-fashioned way on the card, though.
Yeah, exactly. If that can make its way back, then that would be all right, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Arron, that's pretty much everything I had to ask you. Let's just tally up the costs that we've kind of mentioned. It was a £60 entry fee. I don't know. Do you know how many tanks of petrol it cost you to kind of get up to Scotland and back? Could be 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's probably I don't know, 150 quid, say, something like that.
Yeah, 150 quid in petrol. It's a long trek to and from Essex. You said your accommodation, your share was 200 quid of a 600 quid total for an Airbnb. And in terms of food, actually, it was an ongoing storyline just briefly throughout the week that you're all cooking for each other. Out of the three of you, Matty and Hugh, who's the best cook? Who's the worst cook?
I'm gonna say Matty's the best cook by far.
By far,
he makes some good dishes. Like I'd say I'm a good cook. To be fair, I make some nice dishes here and there, but Matty's got all the spices and he does everything. Like makes it unreal. And yeah, Hugh's definitely the worst cook, just because there's only one meal he can make, and that's seems to be spaghetti carbonara. And then if it's not that, it's oven lasagna. So we've only got 2 dishes there that I've seen this week, but
that's tough.
This so we can listen to that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, tell all your friends. But basically, you guys kind of eat in. You make every effort to not go and eat out. I know you had a Nando's this week at one point, but you are trying to save money by doing that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's good as well if we have like 2 or 3 of us. I mean, we can just kind of interval it, I guess, for whoever's going to cook. And then the other 2 just wash up. So it's easy and it's just way cheaper. Yeah, it's only like 3 or 4 quid a meal. You know what I mean? Like if that sometimes. Yeah. So it's well worth it. And then we will eat out the odd nights just when like we can't be bothered to cook, I suppose. Or
exactly.
Say we finish late. Say someone finishes late or something. We're better off just going out and eating instead of cooking and then you're done. And then if they're teeing off early in the morning, you just sometimes don't have the time to do it, but we'd always cook if we can, yeah.
Yeah, it just makes all the sense. So in terms of all the totals, the entry was 60, the petrol was 150, the accommodation was 200, and then the food, just some negligible amount, let's call it 50 quid for the week.
Yeah.
Overall, let me just add that up. 200, 150, 350, 410. Overall, we're talking £450 for your week at the St Andrews Links Trophy. How does that sound when I put it like that?
When you put it like that, it sounds like a lot, but I mean, you could play 2 rounds around the old course and it would cost that. So,
yeah, true. I guess when you're thinking like that, then it is still good value. But
it is.
You're playing
at the end of the day. Yeah, if it was a weekend, well, a week away at St Andrews, and like you've had a good time and you're playing tournament golf and you're playing all that sort of golf, it's a great week away, really. I mean, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, and it can probably only be topped by the week you're going to have away next week at the Amateur Championship at Lytham and St Anne's and St Anne's Old Links. I think the entry fee for that's £100, but it'll be interesting to see how you go there. I'm sure you're looking forward to it as a week. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that one. Obviously, that is the biggest event of the year. I mean, for the amateurs, really, because obviously the incentives you get from winning that, like play the Masters, the Open, the US Open. So that's the big one, really.
Perfect.
But yeah, obviously, as I say, we have sort of, you almost have like 4 majors as an amateur. And you've just got to perform in them sort of events. But I'm looking forward to it.
Well, good luck with that event. Good luck with the rest of your season, Arron. Thank you for your time today. I hope to see you back here next year for the Links Trophy, and before then, maybe even the Walker Cup on the old course. Who knows?
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
Perfect. Thank you for coming on.
Cheers, Freddie.
So that was every practical thing you need to know about the 2022 St Andrews Links Trophy hosted by the St Andrews Links Trust. If there is anything major that I've missed out that you would like to have heard or that would be useful for your future planning or even my future planning for events, then get in touch with the podcast. We're on Instagram and YouTube as the Free Relief Golf Podcast, so follow and subscribe to those for all episode updates. And you can always get in touch with me personally at freddylawrence.golf@gmail.com. I'd love to hear any feedback you have to make future episodes specific to what you'd like to hear. Finally, one more shout out to my newly launched bonus subscription podcast series to follow through. You can subscribe to the series through Spotify, or you can head over to the aforementioned Free Relief Golf Podcast Patreon platform, which still rolls off the tongue silkily, where you can give as little or as much support as you wish through the multiple tiers I've set up. Each tier yields different levels of access to my personal golfing progress and tournament results throughout the 2022 season. I'll put the appropriate links in the episode description, so head on over if you'd like to follow me through, my personal golfing journey. Next time, we will be talking Get Back to Golf Tour, a Scottish-based tour for professionals and elite amateurs that is the brainchild of Scottish golfing royalty Alan Tate. Until then, I've been Freddie, you've been lovely. See you next time.